What's up? It's me, Gazbot, for Gazbot in Japan. Day number 4. This video it's still about 20 minutes long, but it feels short to me at least because there's not a lot of actual video footage. And mostly what you're getting is a lot of narration and speaking over photos, and even some video I took. It's just loud and noisy, and it's not really worth watching without my narration over it. But to summarize what you're about to see, it was our 4th day. We started in Akihabara, and then we went to Shibuya Square, and then we went to Nakano, which is where an awesome mall is with a lot of shopping. We also swung by the area where Harajuku Square is, although we didn't get to see the cosplayers. And it was a lot of shopping and a lot of sightseeing, but like local shops kind of sightseeing. So there isn't, in a lot of places you couldn't take pictures inside, which is something that is a recurring theme on this trip. So hopefully you get something out of it. Like I said, I tried to make a narration over it so you're not just looking at a slideshow of pictures, although a lot of the video is you looking at a slideshow of pictures. And so you're going to watch all that stuff, and then at the end I'll be back to show you some of the things I picked up that day in more detail. So enjoy my early morning wake up on day 4.
And value the opportunity to serve you.
Well, day 4 begins, and we are staying at Rem Akihabara, in Akihabara, which is Electric Town, also known as like the Otaku Heaven. We haven't really done anything yet. We went and got McDonald's last night. Everything was closed. But what's interesting is our safe has a little power strip so that you can charge up all your expensive goodies while it's in the safe, which I think is genius. Also, this is the first sort of smallish room we've been in. You can see this is one wall, the window, with a great view of the city, by the way. The bed. And then this area here is a little curtain pulled down where Q is in the shower right there, and the bathroom's right there. There's the door. Little TV. It's quite economical. I can see people, some people did complain about this. I don't mind it. Q doesn't mind it. It's kind of like what a hotel room should be. Just a place to sleep and shower, and that's it. If you're on vacation, why are you spending time in your hotel room anyway? And as I said, this is a great view. So, pretty exciting day. Looking forward to it. Yottore! To be clear, yottore is not Japanese. It's nothing. It's like that, right? You want some. So after getting to Akihabara at night, it was exciting the next day to actually be able to see things in the daytime, more importantly, things that would be open. And you can see this is just the daytime view from our room. And then there is the aftermath of our lovely traditional Japanese McDonald's meal with my vegetarian fries. So we ended up going to Starbucks for breakfast that morning, and Q had wanted a bottle of water, and I was trying to order it, and it was a thing where, you know, I had to actually use my Japanese a little bit. And I was trying to get the bottle of water, and I was saying mizu, which is water, and ippon, which I thought was one bottle of water, which I still think is one bottle of water, and possibly my pronunciation isn't great or whatever, but I was having a problem because I got my order and there was no bottle of water. And I kept trying to explain it in my terrible Japanese, and then eventually a gentleman online who spoke some English was like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I ordered a bottle of water." And they were trying to give me a cup of water because they don't sell bottles of water. So, but what's fun, because I'd asked for water, and I'd asked for a bottle of water, and they just were like, "Oh, well, we'll give them a cup of water, and they'll be fine." But it ended up being like a 2-minute back and forth with like 3 different people, which was, very polite. And again, it was the customer service thing where they wanted to do the right thing, but we couldn't communicate to each other. And then a friendly passerby solved that issue, the issue of the missing water bottle. So after breakfast, we stopped at the train station, and this is some Sailor Moon stuff, and there's also some Dragon Ball Z stuff just in this sort of local shop, and we hopped on the train. There's like hair wax and lip balm and all kinds of awesome stuff, and then we jumped on the train to head to Shibuya, and here's a kind of cool head sign thing for some gardens, which we actually ended up not going to. And then here you can see we're in Shibuya. This is the actual intersection that's been made famous in Lost in Translation, among other places. But I was more enamored with the Dragon Ball Z soda ads, which was more indicative of the kind of thing I wanted to see in Japan. This was just some weird tea drink I got that was kind of disgusting. So passing through the intersection, we were on the hunt for a specific ATM that would let us use our U.S. debit cards to take out some yen, because we only had a little bit that we got at the airport. So that was kind of a first priority at this point to get some extra cash. Right across the street, there was this poster for Ultraman, which I thought was a movie or an arcade or something. And it was sort of an arcade. Here I am joining the Ultra Guard. But it was more of a pachinko parlor was the main thing that these posters. And so we decided to go ahead and check that out. And that's some sort of idol advertisement. Yeah, and it's called Club Sega, which you see around, but it's weird. I guess it's owned by Sega or run by Sega, but it's not all branded with, what I think of as 90s are like Sonic and all that kind of stuff. And here's us going down a lovely mirrored escalator. Because the pachinko was upstairs, UFO machines were on the main level, but then downstairs, this was the most, you can see this little Sonic sign was the most indicator that it was actually branded. And downstairs was just all arcade, and had a lot of these card game arcade games, a lot of which we didn't know how to play for quite a while. You had to kind of go buy a card, like a plastic or heavy, thick cardboard card to have your ID to be able to play these games at all. And then this is when Q was playing that she then had to buy packs of cards to activate and make it work, and she was sort of controlling samurai armies. I never quite understood. I watched her play it before. She kind of figured it out. But it's sort of like, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Type thing where you put down the card and that's the character you get, and then you move the cards and it detects it, and affects the gameplay. I get the impression with a lot of these games, because I played some later, that this was a little bit more intricate than some of the others, but that it's mostly about the collecting, and the gameplay itself is sort of secondary. But this one, like I said, did seem a little bit more involved with us. This is when I played. It had nothing to do with cards. It was just straight up a mech fighter. I had eventually unlocked a second mech, but you put in, again, I had to have a card to play it. I didn't have to keep buying cards. And that unlocked, my save file that let me pick my characters, and then I unlocked a second mech, and it was a lot of fun. It seemed like it'd be a really good console game. Especially for online play, because it's all about like tower defense, capture the flag. That is the machine where you buy the cards from. You can see that's 200 yen, which is a little under $2 US. This sign, they had the, what are they called? Pika Pika machines, I think, or something like that. They're like sticker machines, but they only let couples or ladies go in there. No single guys go in there because they're creeps. So that's nice that they're looking out for the single ladies. And these are just shots of more games. That's actually the game that Q was playing from a distance. I don't know if they're linked or they just happen to be next to each other, but you definitely saw a lot of that where you'd see 4 of a game or 10 of a game. They definitely would say, oh, this game is popular. Let's just get 10 of them. That'll be the row. That was a BlazBlue game, which is a game I've played in America. It's not a very good shot of it, but it's sort of an anime fighting game. They had a lot of Tekken. That was another thing where there's some sort of tournament, and they had a bunch of them lined up. This was weird. It was like a huge horse race game, which I don't think they were betting on it because gambling's illegal, but it might have been like pachinko where it was sort of somehow money. That's the game I was playing, Border Break. I couldn't remember what it was called, Scramble. So I guess this is like a second version or like an alpha version. The controls are awesome. You had like a little mouse that was attached and a joystick handle. Like it felt cool, like you were piloting a mech more than if you just had a joystick. Here's me trying to get some screenshots while I'm playing, so obviously it wasn't coming out too great, but it took me a couple games to get the hang of it, and then it was fun. And it was also fun because it stacked and my character would level up and I'd get more points and abilities, so it encouraged you to keep playing. So I'm like, how do I play this? It's all foreign and new. I'm terrified of this robot. But then, haha, I've leveled up. Gazbot 7.25 on the move. Whatever. So it was a lot of fun. We actually spent way more time there than we intended to when we really were just kind of trying to get some money before we got on the train to go where we were really going. Oh, this was also from that same game I was playing. I don't know why there was this super sexy booby girl when it was basically mechs fighting on a battlefield. I did go upstairs to the pachinko area. They had this great Ultraman display for a pachinko machine that had not come out yet. So unfortunately, I couldn't play it. This is me out front of the pachinko area with more posters. Ultraman being the one that excited me the most. And apparently you're not supposed to film in here. I wasn't 100% sure, but I ended up getting yelled at. You see there's some Evangelion machines. There were some Lupin machines. Pretty much you name the anime, they had it. Here is some more. That was a clam chowder and some kind of coffee. Every canned coffee I got was disgusting. These were interesting Dr. Pepper cans. They were regular Dr. Pepper, but it was kind of a very old-fashioned, made me feel like a 60s, 70s kind of can. So this is Takeshita Street, I believe it was called, and it was packed, as you can see. It was full of tourists, full of locals. They had a bunch of different shops, crepes, and lots of food, lots of clothing. Not so much toys, not so much comics, very touristy. You can see a video of everybody looking at themselves. Ah, it's me, everybody. And yeah, it was a neat place to check out. But we were actually trying to look for Harajuku Square, which is where all the cosplayers hang out and stuff. This was right near it, but this was not it. We did hang out here for quite a while. I started getting starving. We didn't want to wait on a long line. We went to like kind of a 7-Eleven type place where I got white rice and a soft-boiled egg, and that was my protein and carbo meal. I actually had this more than once on the trip. Now, unfortunately, we missed the cosplayers. It was actually St. Patrick's Day, which I don't think either of us realized, and that might have had something to do with it, but we also spent too long in that other area. This is the Sunshine Mall, I think it was called. But basically, we were trying to go to a couple stores. This was a little store next door to it that ended up being closed, but they had a little Yatterman poster and a few other gashpan outside. So I tried to take some pictures that came out terrible. Unfortunately, that place was closed. But inside the mall, there, oh, that one's really bad. I apologize. I should probably take that out, but I'm talking over it. So hey, look at that. I think that was a Common Rider. Now this is inside the mall proper. There's a Red Baron model kit and a bunch of stuff in a display case. It wasn't a store. It was advertising. Hey, go to Mandarake and a bunch of other stores. This was the first one I went to. I got a green vinyl Kyoryuger / Dino Charge figure for I think $3. This was a T-shirt shop that I thought was funny because it was called Baka T, and Baka is like stupid. This was a great little shop. It wasn't one of the Mandarake proper, but it had all kinds of vintage Sofubi vinyls. Like, it was tiny, tiny, tiny. I can't stress it. Like, there's a picture of me coming up. But it was packed to the brim, up to the ceiling. Yeah, here it is from the outside, and you can see just every square inch was filled. I actually spent surprisingly little here. I think I bought a pin and a few other things. Yeah, all those masks on the ceiling, didn't even notice them when I was in there. I was probably in there for, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour. I could have stayed in there all day. So much good stuff, but a lot of it expensive and a lot of it too big to bring home. This was just a promotional poster somebody had up for, I believe it was a tin walker of Mazinger Z. There's me doing my breast fire! My best breast fire. Yes. That looks like a homemade alien. I wasn't sure what it was an advertisement for other than being like a mascot for the shop, but I thought it was kind of cool. Had a lot of Gashpon machines. They had a lot of Star Wars stuff that I haven't seen here. Similar type the stuff we'd have. I didn't buy it because all of it seemed kind of like little tchotchke, Gashpani kind of stuff that I didn't really need, but it was interesting that it was so prevalent. This was an anime book and DVD store that I just thought had a cool decor on top. A lot of these stores I don't even remember the name of. Half of them I didn't know the name when I was there. And look, oh, a Gigantor. Sure, come in the manga shop. Here's a Gigantor holding a fist. He also tells you not to take pictures or bring in soda. That was a bummer. A lot of these stores, you notice, I don't take pictures inside because a lot of them don't let you. This another Mandarake. There was like there are full buildings of Mandarake, but in here it was like a huge multi-level mall that several shops were that brand name, but they were all completely different. And this was a little pagoda boothy thing that had a lot of One Piece and Dragon Ball. I think Q ended up getting a bunch of chibi Dragon Balls here. The next picture actually shows a good selection of yeah, you see all different types of Gashpon and candy toys and little mini statues and stuff. I thought it was cool on the other side. They had this huge, yeah, there it is, a Vegeta as like the big ape monster, or like, you know, just like, I don't know, it was just tons and tons of stuff, some of which I've seen, some of which I haven't. This was Kamen Rider Drive and Ninja, which is the current Super Sentai. It was a shop that it was sort of just, you know, your regular kind of, the equivalent of like a KB Toys, where it was in the middle of this mall with all this vintage stuff and all this specialty stuff, and it was basically like a mini Toys R Us that was overpriced. This was cool. It was a whole store of Gashpon machines. I didn't actually get a bunch here, but it was neat that it was like that's all it was. And this was that Ultraman right there. I almost bought, and I kind of wish I did. This was they had a lot of stuff on consignment, and it was just the kind of the cluster messed up ones like that. Kind of the ones I enjoyed most because you could find special treasures and decent prices, and that wasn't a bad price. It was just so huge, and I thought I'd find something better, and I didn't. I didn't bring home any giant, large Ultraman, despite looking at many of them. One of the last shops we stopped at, or this was one of the last big ones, was another Mandarake, and this one was like sort of the mother lode for vintage and high-end stuff. You can see another large Ultraman there. That was hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I don't even remember how much. Inside, here's an Ultra 7 decapitating an Ella King diorama. That was like $350. Like, it was all super great, super high-end, but expensive and large. Two things that were prohibitive. The large almost even more than the expensive. But that didn't stop us from looking around. We took some pictures, and I interacted. You know, I was asking questions in my best Japanese, and I almost bought. There's a Dan figure who's the alter ego of Ultra 7. That was like something like $100, which is a really good price for that figure. But she opened it up and showed me that the fabric was worn, and I was like, oh, well, you know, thank you for showing me. I don't want it. And then I asked her. Somebody put an Ultraman head on a little chibi body. I thought was funny. And then I asked her about, here he is, a Kakaida statue. That's the original Android Kakaida. Couldn't see the price, so I was asking her how much it was, and I showed it to her, and she couldn't find the price. She went and asked, and it turned out it was not for sale, which was kind of a bummer and a blessing because, it probably would have been crazy expensive, but at the same time, it was smallish enough that I might have bought it. But I had a lot of fun in a lot of these shops speaking Japanese. It was some of the most fun times I had is when I was in toy shops because I knew a lot of toy words, which made it easy, and the interactions were kind of simple in terms of asking prices and where things were and stuff. This was another great diorama of the Kiryu Godzilla versus looks like a Heisei Godzilla, and the dioramas underneath. That's the kind of stuff like if I had a basement instead of a train set, I would just have little cities being destroyed by kaiju and stuff. There's some more Ultramen and Gamera. I think this is like statues or X Plus, a lot of that kind of stuff in there. We left there and there's just some Attack on Titan cosplay, which we saw kind of a lot just for sale on the shelf like that, on the shelf, on the rack, on the mannequin, whatever. And here's some fluffy cats. I don't know if it was part of some series, but they were fluffy cats. Hey, look, here's a close-up. More fluffy cats, and by fluffy I mean chubby. And that was pretty much our day. I bought a lot more stuff and went to a lot more shops that I couldn't show you, unfortunately. This is us heading out. From there, we went ahead and met up with our friends who took us to get a Japanese food that I got vegetarian style, yaki onigiri, which became my favorite thing to eat while we were there. I think I had it 3 different times, and it's great because it's something I never had before. It's actual Japanese food, but you can see mine on the left is the one that doesn't have any the meat or the dashi or anything, and it's sort of a cabbage pancake. Then they put all this sauce stuff on it, and it was delicious. And they cook it right at your table like that. And there's mine, and I chomped it with my mouth, and I ate it good. Then our friends took off before leaving us with a apple pie sort of mochi. I normally don't like mochi, but that was pretty delicious. Now, rather than turn in at that point, we said, okay, look, we still haven't even gotten to Akihabara. Here's a Sega. It's not the same as the Club Sega from before. It's more of an actual arcade. So we went in there. It was open till like midnight. You can see the cool building on the side. All the lights came on. So it was a lot of fun to be around. It was very Times Square-y, even though it was not a lot of traffic. So anyway, in the Sega place, like one whole floor was this Dragon Ball Z fighting game. One whole floor was like the Gundam fighting game. It was just like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not by much. It was like 20, 30 of these popular games in a row, and we played together a little bit, and then we split up a little bit. Q, of course, was enamored with the Dragon Ball Z game and spent most of her time there. And it's funny because in Japantown by us, they have a similar setup, or they have had a similar setup of both the Dragon Ball Z game and the Gundam game, but it was clearly like 5 generations ago, so these were like top of the line graphics and technology, all the characters. There were people, having tournaments, watching on screens. It was all the rage. It wasn't like, oh, this is like a little niche thing. Like they were the big games. But what's funny is like after I watched her play for a while, and then I did some Gundam myself. I'm like, oh, let me try a different game, and I actually had to like go to another floor in the arcade to try some different games. And again, some of those floors were half Tekken and half Street Fighter. This was me playing Gundam. I can't remember. It's a Sailor Moon Gundam. That's not the name. It's like Nobu. I think it's Nobu. So that was kind of funny, a little mixing of our 2 flavors. This was the smoking area. You were allowed to smoke in there, but it had to be behind this tape. But there was no wall or anything. It was still like in the arcade. It was weird. Anyway, we left, and that was just another building outside. And on the way back, we saw this machine. Again, there's vending machines everywhere. And it had Boss, which is some brand, and Tommy Lee Jones is their salesperson. So he was the Bill Murray character in ours. So we actually did a lot this day, although a lot of it was difficult to document. The mall that we shopped in was possibly one of my favorite shopping experiences the entire time we were there. There's the green vinyl I talked about, which is one of the first things I bought, and that Ultraman button with the mantle, which is a cape, which I got at that little tiny shop. Throughout the day, I found these are Ranger keys for the Gokaiger, which is Super Mega Force in America, but this is the Japanese version, which I collect. And I also ended up asking about those a lot. Where are they? Do you have them? To varying degrees of success. And those are some batteries, which are for Kyoryuger, which is what is Dino Charge here in America now. I actually ended up getting a lot of these red Ranger keys, and you can see I paid like $2, $1, $3. None of them were too expensive, but I kind of regret getting some of these reds because I later found out those are the ones that are most readily available. This is Peanuts and Cashews, Ultraman and Ultra 7, like branded, just in a regular 7-Eleven. I was pretty psyched. I still haven't eaten them, but I guess I have to eventually. I don't know, but I was just so excited that they had those brands. This was a good score Q got. These are the vinyls of Jungle Fury Power Rangers in America, which are Geki Ranger in Japan, and I think it was all but one of the whole set, and it was, I want to say it was like $6, $8, super cheap. And that was quite a little score. In that same store, she got this Dark Bunny, which is SH Figure Arts, which are usually pretty expensive, but for some reason it was like $8. I got a Gokai Darn, which is like a first release part. I got this Zeo Ranger, this gold. I think it was like $10. It was all really, really good prices at this place, so I was very happy. End of the night, Ultraman Victory says, "Chomp chomp, Akihabara." Have a good night. Oyasumi nasai. Ultraman Victory. He doesn't actually talk. And then, yeah, so we kind of end this day the same as the other, but then the next day, we go to Osaka and Universal Studios. So stay tuned! Okay, so this is basically the pile of stuff, minus I think I had one or two other of these Ranger keys that aren't in the shot. But to give you a better idea of what it is, this, actually, this is from home. This is not, I did not pick this up there. But I wanted to show you what these are. This is the same basic thing as this. These are called Gazbot, where you would get them out of a machine. These are Candy Toy, but they're both Ranger keys. And the Gazbot, you have to put stickers on the top and assemble them. The Candy Toys come with, there's a little piece of candy in there, a little piece of hard candy. And then you have to put the stickers on here and on here. But this part is painted. So these ones are a little bit nicer. And there's a DX version, which is completely painted, which are great, which I did get one set of that you'll see in a later one. This is Denjiman Denji Blue, which is a Sentai series before Power Rangers. So this is the kind you can only get in Japan. So this is the sort of stuff I was specifically looking for. And what you do is you put it in here. Denjimon! Denjimon! And then get a secondary sound. And so each team gets its own specific sound. Theoretically, you'd only need one of each, but I'm trying to collect all of them because they're fun and they're actually little action figures. So that's why you're going to see a lot of these on the review. And again, this one I haven't put together yet. Okay, so here is the Ultraman and Ultra 7 foods, which they're just foods, so I'm not going to bother with them. This is the Ultraman pin. Check out that one store. Wow, I paid about $3 for this, which isn't crazy expensive, but considering I was paying like $2, $3, like this was 324 yen, which is about $3. This guy was $3, 300 yen, which is a little bit under $3. So it's just funny how different things. I mean, I guess this is theoretically vintage of some sort, but that'll go in my jacket or something. Now this guy I've opened. He came in a plastic bag, which made me think he was used because it was sort of a store bag. And then I opened that, and then there was another bag that was sealed, and then in that he still has his tag, and he's actually in perfect mint condition, and I got him for less than $3. I would have bought like the whole team. This is such a good deal for these figures. They're 6 inches tall. They're pretty well detailed. It's a good way to collect all of those guys. That's the box. But these are the batteries, which in America right now, Dino Charge is the current Power Rangers. A couple years ago, it was in Japan as Kyoryuger. And instead of the keys that look like people, they have a collectible thing of these batteries. Most of them are for the team. I picked up these two. I don't really collect these, but I got this one, which is Go Busters, which is the team that likely won't be imported to America. And you can see there's a little button you press, and it's just like, Go Buster, energize! And then I got this one, which is Zeo Ranger, which is Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. So you can see the red Tyranno Ranger or Jason the Red Ranger. And that I just got because it's Power Rangers. This is the Gokai Darn, which I had mentioned briefly in the video. What it is Gokaiger is a pirate-themed Sentai, which we have here in America as Super Mega Force. And I don't have the figure for this yet, but you can see this is the cockpit of the ship. It looks like a pirate thing, and then there's the chair that goes with it. These were only available with the first release of the collectible figures, so I can get the figure now, and I got this cheap. I think it was like $3 or something. Yeah, $3 exactly. So I could get the figure now at the lesser price that isn't the first edition because I have the piece, and that is awesome. And that's the kind of stuff you're not going to find used at a store around here. This was sort of the major coup for the day. This is King Ranger from what we would call Zeo. This would be the Gold Ranger, which was when Jason came back. This is the Japanese version. What's awesome about it is it has like 100 stickers. This was from Mandarake, another one of their stores. Again, they had so many good stores in that mall in Nakano. And you could see it was $24 at some point. I got it, $10. That's what I got it for. So it was like $24 retail. All these years later, it's vintage, but yet it's $10. I'm not 100% sure if it's even been opened. It looks like it's sealed, and it's just dead stock that's been kicking around forever. And it's got this chromey gold, which I love. And I'm pretty excited. This is something I'd looked at on eBay that was always more than I wanted to spend. So this is kind of the
it's not, you know, $1 million score, but it's indicative of the exact type of thing I was looking for. Things that I could only get in Japan, and things that I could maybe get here for way more expensive. So I was pretty happy with this. I'll probably end up doing a review of this by itself, but for now, you can just sort of look at that. So yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it for day 4 of Gazbot in Japan. And it seems like it wasn't a super exciting day, but it was for me. It was seeing a lot of cool shops in town, like not touristy spots necessarily. Well, I guess it was a little bit touristy, but only for the type of tourist that I was, where I was looking for toys and, you know, things like that. And we got out and about in the world a little bit. It was difficult to document, but it was an exciting day. It's the sort of day that if somebody's asking about going to Japan, would I recommend it? Maybe not. Maybe the first part where we went to the street, but the toy stuff, yeah, no. But if you're a toy fan, yes. It was a very, very fun day. So, you know, I got my Zeo Ranger, and yeah, that's going to be it for day 4. However, stay tuned for day 5, because we head out to Osaka with the purpose of going to Universal Studios. Although I'm saying that, but I think day 5 will be the trip to Osaka, and then day 6 will be Universal. But there's a lot of days coming. There's a lot of days coming. So, yeah, I think I had asked before if anybody had any questions or anything. I'm willing to answer them. I don't know if I can. One person, I think it was Marshall, actually, Plex Couture, if I remember correctly, had asked me about one of my earlier videos where I had said everybody's really polite and quiet, almost to a crazy degree as an American, and why that was, and was it cultural or whatever. And obviously it is cultural, but you know, I don't have a super great answer, except from my limited understanding, it is just the idea of the whole being greater than the individual. It's kind of the opposite of America, where like the individual pulls himself up, you know, and rises to prominence. It's more about the village, about the country, and the idea of being loud is just like, well, I'm embarrassing myself because I'm inconveniencing other people and I'm making their day more difficult, and that's bad. And you know, so it's just you know, the explanation is, why are they so polite? It's like, well, because they're so polite, you know, but, there could be more to it that I'm missing. Again, I'm not some sort of expert, but really it does just seem that it's more focused on the community and the whole than on the individual. And there's a lot of, a lot of respect for other people, which is in turn respect for themselves, I guess. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't be answering questions about Japanese culture. Maybe just toys and tourism. Alright, see you next time, guys. Gazbot in Japan, go!